In this video, I want to talk about what I think is one of the most important elements of bass fishing, and that is timing. Getting your timing right when you're out there fishing throughout the day, throughout the year, in certain situations is extremely important. And if you don't have your timing right, you can fish down an area and not catch a fish, and then someone can come behind you and catch a lot of fish. So today I want to talk all about timing. Now, before I get into the video, this one's brought to you by my apparel company, Finn Fishing. Guys, I'm running a really cool sale right now. If you buy one of my USA made sun shirts for the month of May, you actually get a free tri-blend t-shirt. This is a shirt that I usually sell for $20, and right now it is completely free. I'm telling you, this is the most comfortable t-shirt you will ever wear in your life. I have gray, I have blue, I have black, I have a couple more colors actually coming. And right now, if you buy one of the USA made sun shirts, you get it for free. So all you gotta do, add the sun shirt that you like to cart, add the shirt that you like to cart. It will automatically discount at checkout. It is the best way to help support this channel. All right, let's talk about timing. Timing is something that, you hear people mention from time to time a lot, but you don't really, I feel like, ever hear a lot of guys go into super in depth in it. And let's start this conversation by, understanding that there are a lot of days when we do go out there on the water where timing isn't a big deal. For example, if you're a tournament fisherman, sometimes you might find fish, on a certain stretch of the bank, and you can go there at any time of the day and catch them on that certain stretch. So I do want you guys to understand that. But there are a lot more times that I've seen out on the water where timing, being at a certain place at a certain time, is critical into you actually getting bites. And I also want to talk about timing. I'm going to give you a few examples of where timing has helped and hurt me over the years. And also I want to show how it can actually kind of motivate you as well. Now, one thing that I want to talk about is that, sometimes you don't know what the timing is. So it's okay to kind of be a guess and checker, if that makes sense. And so what I'm saying is that a long time ago, I was fishing this tournament, and I was able to pre-fish for this tournament for a few hours one day. And I found a lot of fish kind of on this one point in this one it was a kind of a point that led into a ledge. I caught these fish on this particular area. Now, the next day me and my partner, we came to this particular place. It was the first place that I wanted to go because I had caught some really quality fish on this place for the lake. The lake that I was fishing, it usually only takes like 10 to 12 pounds to win. And I had caught like some 3-pounders, and those are big ones for this particular body of water. Anyways, we went right there first thing, and I tell you what, it was the Dead Sea. It was the Dead Sea. I was fishing it with a deep diving crankbait and a big worm. I could not get a bite at all. And I fished it for about an hour, which is a lot longer than I typically spend on an area. But I just felt like, man, if I could just get 1 or 2 or 3 bites there, they're going to be big ones. And I didn't. So anyways, I ended up going to a couple other areas for a couple of hours. And guess what? I came back to that same spot. And guess what? I fished another hour in that exact same spot and caught nothing. Absolutely nothing. And at this point, I was very dejected. This is typical tournament fishing. But anyways, I went again and I fished some other things for a couple of hours, and I decided late in the day, with having a limit at the time, fishing other areas, but not a big limit, I'm like, man, I'm gonna hit it one more time. I'm gonna hit it one more time. And lo and behold, I pulled up towards the end of the day, and over the course of about an hour and a half, I completely called out every single fish, and we ended up having almost 11 pounds, which wasn't enough for the win, but it was enough for a good check in that particular tournament. So, guys, I did not know when I needed to be at that place. But what I did is I just put myself in position to try to be there when they were biting. I didn't know when it was gonna be. I had caught them kind of at like 10 o'clock the day before. They didn't bite until almost 1 o'clock on the day of the tournament. And so sometimes you don't know the timing. So if you have an area on the lake, the river, the pond that you fish that typically produces big fish, just check it every now and then. There's no harm in just checking something, fishing for 15, 20 minutes. Usually when you like if there's fish actively biting in a good area, you're gonna know within about 10 or 15 minutes. Just like on that day, it was the second cast when I came back on the third time when I caught my first fish on a big worm, actually. So it's really okay if you don't understand the timing. Now, there are some things in fishing where you should understand the timing. For example, if you're dealing with something like a shad spawn, if you have, threadfin or gizzard shad in your lakes, you should understand that those fish, when the gizzard shad and the threadfin shad are active, typically in the mornings and in the evenings, that is one of your only opportunities to catch fish that are eating shad during that time frame. So that's really, really important, a piece of timing that you should know. Another thing that's important if you fish tidal rivers. Tidal rivers, I have gotten I fished the James River for almost 4 weeks of my life, I think it is now, so like 28 days. And I got a good bit of knowledge from just fishing the James River. It fluctuates about 2.5, 3 foot each and every single day, twice a day. And it is a phenomenal fishery, but I learned a lot about timing. How, if you want to really catch a lot of fish, you have to get your timing right. And a lot of times it just depends on the area that you're fishing. So just understand how much timing can make a really big difference. Now, something that I wanted to talk about and almost encourage you guys or motivate you to fish is that we're going to get into summertime fishing. And summertime, I think that timing can be even more important than normal. And I think that there are major feeding windows that happen throughout the day during this, especially during the summer. It happens all year long, but in the summer, it just seems like because the fishing can be so hot or cold, you can go to the lake and, for example, you could go to a lake because a guy was like, dude, I'm crushing the fish. But you get there at 9 o'clock, say one morning, and you fish until 2 or 3 o'clock, and you don't catch a fish, or maybe you catch really little fish. So then you start to feel discouraged because you aren't catching them. And maybe you go back to that guy and you're like, oh man, how are you catching them? And he's like, I was catching them on topwater. And it's like, okay, you go back the next day and you throw a topwater from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Again, you don't catch them. And again, you're feeling discouraged. But then you talk to him again and he's like, well, I caught all my fish in the first hour. That's a big difference. That is what you see a lot sometimes. So even though you can be doing the right thing on the lake that you're supposed to be doing, you don't have the timing right. Those fish bit early. Sometimes it's early, sometimes it's later. The other thing that I think is really important to know is how bass will set up differently on structure and cover throughout a day. And so I fish a lot of evening tournaments, not a lot. I fish a Tuesday nighter though every single week. And I also fish a lot on the same lake, a lot on Saturdays and Sundays. And a lot of the areas that produce on Tuesday evenings don't always produce on Saturday and Sunday morning and afternoons. And that is not only me. I remember having a really in-depth conversation with a buddy of mine where he's like, man, we can catch 14 pounds every Tuesday night. We go back to that same spot on a Saturday, we will not catch a fish. And that has to do with timing and how those fish are setting up differently on structure and cover depending on kind of where the sun is up there. So another big thing that kind of derives from that is shade. Shade is a major component that can really help you to catch fish, especially when we get into the summertime here. And so in the mornings, shade isn't always that big of a deal. And in the afternoon, like late evenings, shade isn't always a big deal because that sun is starting to get lower. And as it gets lower and the trees start to cast a bigger shade line, those fish have a lot more room where they can kind of roam. And when it's up during the day, maybe it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, maybe it's noon, maybe it's 2 o'clock, depending on how that shade positions, depending on how much shade is going into the water, sometimes it's actually some of your best fishing when the sun is directly overhead because it really just sucks the fish into a very small shade line. Instead of having 30 feet where that fish could be, it has 2 foot where that fish could be. So and that again, it all comes down to timing. I'm really stumbling over my words here, guys. But anyways, that I just want to kind of encourage you today and just let you know that sometimes we go out there and we go fishing and we may not catch them. And honestly, it's all about timing a lot. So just understand also that we don't no matter how dialed in you think you can be, sometimes you just miss on the timing. Just like I did in that tournament. We ended up doing well, but I failed several times before it actually happened. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out that fin fishing deal. And also, you might like my most recent video right here. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.